One thing that I like to talk about is the idea of good faith and bad faith.
Please.
Because one of the things that I see a lot in the new sort of alternative media is some kind of gatekeeping based on who's good faith and who's bad faith. Now, it's a paradox in a way, because you can have you can decide, okay, this person's bad faith. It seems to be a subjective judgment that is always kind of laid on someone else. Like, I can't imagine a situation where you say, I'm not going to talk to you because you're bad faith, and then a few months later they say, come back and they're like, you were right, actually, yeah, back then I was in bad faith and now I'm in good faith. Like, no one, like, what does it actually mean to say that someone is in good faith?
I don't think that that's quite true, David.
No?
No, I think some people self-identify, for example, as trolls. Like, you meet somebody and say, yeah, my troll game is strong.
Yeah.
Like, I just enjoy dunking on people on the internet. Like, there I'm using the word as they would use the word, and I'm making fun of it. I think that, if I think about what Sam Cedar's perspective was on Dave Rubin, it was Dave Rubin's a dangerous guy, and I wish to neutralize the danger through ridicule. Right? So I think people will own that in many circumstances. And they'll say, I'm employing a tool for amusement, for social good, and when it comes to like a good faith, bad faith, I had just got into a really unpleasant interchange with Yasmin Mohammed about hijabs. And she thought I was saying one thing, which I wasn't saying. And so she was reacting to that thing that she thought I was saying. And I had the sense of, well, these are really unpleasant arguments you're making back to me. You're treating me like a fool, and you're treating me as somebody with no experience who has no idea what they're talking about, which I didn't think was true. And so the question was, do I think I'm dealing with somebody of good faith and I should place a call? Or do I think I'm dealing with somebody who's into a gotcha game who simply wants to put a trophy head on her wall? And I'd had some interaction with her before, and I thought very highly of her. So I just said, I bet good faith. Doesn't seem like good faith at the moment, but let's stick it out. Let's see what happens. Sure enough, it takes about 20 minutes to sort out. Oh, that's what you're saying? Oh, that's what you're saying?
You called her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We called each other. Forget who placed the final call that connected. But the key point is, I wasn't out to get her. I wasn't out to destroy what she was trying to say. I would have happily signed on for every percentage of what she was saying that I would agree with. And as a result, I didn't think that scoring a point on the person was a part of either person's agenda. I think actually you can generally ascertain not whether somebody is a good faith person or a bad faith person, but whether that person is behaving in good faith or bad faith towards you. Like, for example, I've seen Michael Malice say a lot of very intelligent things, very thoughtful things. And I've also seen him just be a dick. And so when he encountered me the other day on Twitter, I was like, I wonder which Michael Malice I'm going to get. And he was just sort of being a dick. And I was thinking, like, is this really the modality you want to choose with me? He's like, yeah, let's double down. It's like, okay, got it. That's unfortunate because I'd seen him make some very insightful comments.
I guess my point is about good faith, bad faith, is that I've seen it used, like there's a lot of conversations that it's almost, I've almost seen it used in a way as kind of on the center, as a way of sort of not engaging with certain people, rightly or wrongly. It's often given as a reason for not engaging with certain people, that almost seems like an inverse of the no platforming tactics on the left.
Well, I've been through this with you. It's very important to exclude people from conversation.
But how do you know that those decisions are being made? How can you tell the difference?
Right.
How can you know that it's a good faith decision of bad faith, or a good faith declaration of good faith or bad faith?
But that's just the problem. It's an issue of skill. You see?
Discernment, maybe.
Well, this is the dirty secret that nobody really wants to discuss, that whether or not a society thrives or dies often can't be written into the rules in a precise way, because everyone will read the rules and attempt to game them. Oh, but it says here in paragraph 7 that if I do this, that, and the other thing, you can't say anything. So, okay, well, that's great. So you figured out a way around the rules. You've arbitraged the letter against the spirit. Now, in the case of excluding people from conversations, the key question that I usually have is this person attempting to be constructive or not? Are they interested in the underlying points, Or are they interested in victories, wins, and losses? I think that a lot of people inside of what you would call the IDW, some of them are interested sometimes in wins and losses. And, I've been interested in wins and losses. It's not a huge part of what I want to be doing. And in general, does somebody give you the chance? There are rules for fighting. You smack somebody to the curb hard and it's a decisive victory, and you think well of your opponent, you offer that person a hand up, and then you say, wow, I thought you really had me. If you don't do that, you're kind of a dick. And I think it's really important to understand that in fighting, if your goal is to just hang other people's heads on your trophy wall, I would call that not good faith. Now, would I engage in that if I thought somebody was a real danger and they were just a terrible faith actor? Maybe. But I think that a lot of us take a lot of pains to not back people into corners unnecessarily, to not use gotcha techniques, to not attempt to humiliate people, to not come in guns blazing. And there are all sorts of devices that cue you off that somebody shouldn't be taken seriously, even if they're making a good point. It's like, if there's too much internet speak in what they're doing, too much ha-ha, like very often if I see a lot of attempts at ridicule, I just don't even talk to the person. Not because ridicule didn't previously have a place, but because there's something about the internet where the premium on ridicule is absolutely metastatic with respect to what its effect on conversation. There's almost no recovery from talking to somebody whose principal modality is ridicule.
And you mentioned Sam Cedar in this context. And you talked about him at length with Sam Harris on one of your recent podcasts.
Yeah. Because, it's a sadness.
Yeah.
Because I think Sam Cedar has a lot to offer, as does Michael Malice. That's somebody on the left, somebody on the right. And they both spend sort of a lot of time just trying to hurt people.
I feel personally uncomfortable watching that, talking about him quite at length, and not engaging. Like if that was me being talked about by someone else, I'd feel like, hang on, why are you not having a conversation with me? Why are we not having this conversation?
Because we don't agree on what the rules are, David. If you say, that moment when Mike Tyson bit off somebody's ear, that was awesome because it's combat. My feeling is, okay, I get it. So you have an idea of greater combat. You probably think that a finger in the eye is hilarious. And my feeling is those aren't the rules of boxing that I'm interested in. So it's not that I can't see that you have skill as a boxer. It's that you have an idea that war is war and only, never give a sucker an even break. And so if those are your rules, you know why nobody wants to step in the ring with you, because you bite people's ears off.
Do you not think you could engage him and call out those tactics?
I called him up. We had a perfectly reasonable conversation. I understood his perspective. I think he understood mine. And I think his perspective was that somebody like Dave Rubin, in his opinion, was such a dangerous person that it was important to stop him more or less by any means necessary within the rules of internet etiquette. And so, just having an army of people constantly say, debate Sam Cedar, you coward, like that phrase over and over again is just, that's his style of attack. And, I look at that and I say, well, that's not speech that I'm interested in. That's not, why would anyone voluntarily deal with it? Nobody would. Not if you're smart, not if you have a life.
I guess it depends whether you feel that might move on the conversation if you were able to expose.
Maybe it was, but the bigger issue is this sort of kind of just nasty thing that the internet devolves into at the drop of a hat. It's like, I have to push myself not to become that person. I don't want to be a troll. I don't want to get into gotcha battles. I don't want to score the clever little epithet. Sometimes, but it's like you're talking about a really exotic spice being used as if it's the substrate of a meal. It's not the main course. If ridicule is the main course, you're doing it wrong.